Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zach. Today I'm going to be talking about WKHS, Workhorse Group Incorporation. It's been requested for me for quite a bit now, and this is the time I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to go through technical analysis, news, what I think about the stock, factors affecting the stock in terms of catalysts, and what rating I would give it. Now make sure to drop a like to this video to help the channel grow, subscribe and leave your notifications on, and let's jump right into it. So we get to see here on the 1 month, 1 day perspective, we get to see the MACD is gone a little bit more around flat on the top, but it has done that before, and I'm going to basically mention that this one has a really strong uptrend where it does see more of a push up and then a very slight pullback and then another push, and that is definition of an uptrend: high lows and high highs. Moving on towards the ADX, and by the way, if you're missing out on any of these technical indicators, there's a playlist in the description below that explains each of these and what they mean. So on the ADX, we're sitting at 38.93, and that is a very strong indication of a trend that is present. William %R is sitting in this one at closer to overbought, which is a bearish one here. Momentum here, you can look at it as bullish one. Strong momentum, a little bit lost in terms of momentum, but still quite strong. Volumes have been a little bit slowing down. That is usually a bearish move, but it could be that a lot of them have previously invested in the stock, and you can see that the inflow is still higher than the outflow. So we're still, I think it's almost the highest it has been ever, and that is a positive sign. Now going on towards the moving averages, and I'm summing it around here. You get to see the 10 SMA, the green line, is above the red line, the 30 EMA. That is a bullish sign. That is a trading action zone between the two, and so if it does dip, you can see more of a jump out right ahead. It's still above the purple line, the 50 SMA, and then above the 200 SMA, which are both bullish. Now moving on towards the 1 hour perspective, we get to see a bit of a similar news here. We get to see on the MACD, for instance, it's actually gone towards a positive reversal, probably seeing somewhere around Monday, green day. On the ADX though, it supports that it probably would be trading sideways for the time being. Million %R puts it at neutral, and momentum seems to be a little bit choppy, not as strong as it was before, but still quite alright. Volume seems to be a little bit mixed here, but you get to see on the moving averages, and I'm zooming in here, it's a little bit of a mess. And you get to see that they're almost all touching, but still, on the last hour, they all look bullish, but in a very chance of turning bearish. Now, that was on the last trading day, but if you were to look at it a few days before, you get to look at a really bullish moving averages, but it looks like it might have had a really bad Friday just because of a sell-off Friday. So I'm not going to give that much attention. Moving on towards the moving average band, it's expected that this one trades in the upper half of the bands that you get to see before. The upper half of the band is 2018, and the middle is sitting at 1824. Moving on to Fibonacci retracement, supports and resistances, we're going to be choosing the 24.49 as our highest peak, and then $1.32 as our lowest one. And we get to see that there is a significant support sitting at the 1953 mark. Now, if we were to look at supports and resistances just to try to figure out where is the possibility of a floor here, we're looking easily somewhere around 23.76 as we currently stand is the resistance. Above that, we're looking at 24.05, and then above that, of course, to 24.49. If we were to look at supports, for instance, we're looking at currently we're sitting at the 22.96. And then the 22.63, 22.40, 22.20, 21.83, and then we're looking at the 21.54/21.44, and then we're looking at 19.75. Now below the 19.22, that's where things can get a little bit ugly, but the lowest support I see it ever touching is the 13.29, at least for the time being. Now let's try to look into news, right? What's so nice about this company and what do we like about it? So this is their website here, Workhorse Group. So they do have a bit of different products here, and the main thing is electrical vehicles in terms of trucks for instance for applications like mails and on low mileage or kind of more of houses deliveries. And you get to see that they have C series vehicles for C650 and the C100. And they're built specifically for last mile delivery, as I said. They're four-wheeled independent suspension system that include a rear air shock and providing an unparalleled smooth ride for the driver and the load. And so they have different products here. For instance, the Workhorse has teamed with the UPS Virginia Center for their drone system. So if you, I know a lot of people were super excited about the UAVS ticker with drones, but this one has a higher advantage in terms of where it's in terms of that kind of production or testing. Metron here, which is in your entire fleet in the palm of your hands. Basically, it's a tracking software where it can tell you basically the date type, fuel consumption, cell temperature, speed, etc., and it goes on. And can track around 500 plus vehicles in every 10 seconds. So it's quite nice if you're holding in a fleet. So there's good applications for this one on the software side. So you can test drive the future of delivery vehicle for the C100. And they're partnered with Ryder, Ever Better, and the COOP by Ryder. Now, going on towards investor relations and investor presentation here. So basically, there is a bunch of things that are going on here, mainly focusing on the C100 and the C650 vehicles, and as well their drone options. So the main thing is real-time telematics, last-minute delivery vehicles, HorseFly delivery drone, infrastructure and leasing, and NGDV program. Now, they have basically in discussions with the USPS, and I'm going to discuss that in a minute. But basically, their investments highlights are as follows for this one here. Market leader in the first and only in US pure play OEM in medium-duty electrification for last-mile delivery and an $1,800 billion delivery cargo van market. Technology validations from blue chip partners such as UPS, DHL, FedEx, and a bunch more. Cable manufacturing at our 265,000 square feet plant in Union City, Indiana. So they do have a lot of different perspectives here for the company in the future. So you get to see launch and initial product development, that's been done. Proof of concept, that's been done as well with UPS. And now they're focusing on the last mile delivery and commercialization. So it's an amazing step that they're working with. There is multiple configurations for board range for applications for the C200 and the C1200. There's initial anchor order of 1,000 units received by UPS in February 2018 for the C series. And so there is a lot of revenue still coming in way ahead of time. And now we're talking about the Metron telematics and the UAV drones. I'm not going to cover that right now just because there is a lot to cover in this one. Their Generation 1 series and their C1000, you get to see a lot of improvement on the C1000, such as the total weight of the vehicle has decreased, meaning there's more room for cargo or heavier cargo. You get to see that the maintenance has reduced by around more than 60%. Floor height has been decreased, and the miles is around 100 miles in terms of delivery. So looking here, we get to see that there is around $50,000. We looking here, we get to see around $50,000 in ASP for last mile delivery vehicles. 350,000 number of last miles delivery vehicles purchased by the US fleets annually. So there is a massive market of around $18 billion of annual addressable market size for last mile deliveries in the United States alone. And we get to see, of course, some of their current sample customers: DHL, FedEx, UPS, Amazon, other retail stores, and Walmart. And the vehicle sizes are mentioned here as well, so you get to see that they have the C650 and C1000, C450, and C650 as well for Amazon, Walmart, and other retailers. Now, a bit of comparison between, for instance, them and Tesla and Ford and Freightliner and Changi and EV conversions for non-OEM. You get to see that they do have an upper advantage: heavy duty and long cycle components. There's a lot of different advantages here as is shown. Low fuel and maintenance, positive or ROI in less than 3 years, no incentives required, and they also have an integrated drone option. Moving on, you get to see 6 orders placed in to date, totaling almost 1,350 vehicles in UPS with the relations. So one of their major partners here seems to be UPS, and there is a strong indication that that was just basically the start of the customers, and it's going to more pour in. Now, another thing here, one of the latest catalysts that people were looking for is the Senate to pass the coronavirus bill that would provide $10 billion in postal services. So in terms of the postal services, they have delayed the production contract for new mail trucks all the way back in May, and we're looking at the bidding teams. There's one of them is Workhorse Groups, which is one we talked about. So they are still there on as a bidder. and they still have proved themselves with the UPS contract, but basically we're waiting on the USPS in terms of getting funding for the new generations of vehicles. And you get to see that there is a lot of politics coming into this one, as always, with some tickers. Democrats' infrastructure bill has special delivery for electric mail trucks. I believe this one has not passed. It actually failed to pass, but in the hopes that basically the next bill coming in forward would be also addressing the mail ones. Now, going on Democrats versus Republicans, it's been more about slashing/giving funds, and it's basically a political move. I'm not going to address that one, but I'm basically saying that it looks like you actually do need a bit of a better infrastructure for this one here. This one here is regarding receiving, basically mentioning that their fleet is going on fire one by one because of their aging fleets, but I'm not going to address that very much. But basically it shows them that there is a need of that kind of product. Moving on to company highlights. Release updates and highlights. It officially began production and delivered 3 C-Series electrical vehicle vans to Ryder System. Became the first and only medium-duty battery electric vehicle BEV OEM to receive approvals for both Environmental Protection Agency EPA as well as California Air Resources Board CARB, permitting the company to sell vehicles in all 50 states. Reaffirmed previous production deliveries of target of 300 to 400 vehicles in 2020. Now, some of the latest news in terms of August 2020. Workhorse Strategic Partners, Loveland Morton Group LMC entered into a business combination agreement with Diamond Peak Holding Corp, a special purpose acquisition company. This will result in LMC becoming a publicly listed company on the NASDAQ under the ticker RIDE. So that is one of the operational highlights that you have. So post-transactional, which is expected to close in the fourth quarter of this year, Workhorse will return 10% ownership stake in the merged company, which is estimated approximately $160 million based on a $1.6 billion evaluation, as well as royalty considered previously outlined intellectual property licensing agreement from November 2019. That is a mouthful. I'm very sorry about this long video. There's just a lot to discuss about this company. One of the main things is their meetings on the annual meeting on September 21st. Nothing very much significant that kind of attracts my eyes. Just the regular kind of things where ratifying an appointment for an independent auditor, other things here and there, but nothing significant. The other thing as well is the 10Q, and this shows in basically the amount of cash that they have. Now this one is not in thousands, this is as it is, so we're looking at $26.2 million in total assets. We're looking at 55.4, and we're looking at net sales of around 91,000. That is to increase though, as you get to see from 2020 to 2019. It's a massive increase. Now the gross loss is around $131 million compared to what the assets they have is $55 million. That is quite a bit, and the majority part of it comes in from different parts here. For instance, interest expense included, loss from operations, and so there is a massive loss on this one. But in the end of the day, they might want to increase a bit more cash. I haven't seen one of the latest more of cash on hand versus operations, but there is always a possibility to to gain more cash. And one of the things they've actually released was their conversions of Series B preferred stock fully in cash by September 28th to get enough cash. So this gives me an idea that the company is providing a bit more cash for its operations in order to be able to move forward overall. Now, what do I think about the stock? And I'm very sorry again for this long video. There's a lot to talk about. Right now, it is at the 52-week high. Actually, it broke the 52-week high on Thursday. On the MACD, it kind of shows in. It's more of an uptrend, but it's a little bit kind of holding it a little bit down. And if you're looking at 3 months, 1 week, you get to see it's still on the green level, and it looks really bullish. But the ADX on the 1 week is above 50, and that's when you consider selling. So just because this one has a really strong potential, really strong future, in the long-term investment, in the long run, I would say consider holding or speculative hold. Just because there's a lot of potential for this one, but it's at the 52-week high. So for that reason, and from the technical analysis, even if they look bullish, I myself would consider perhaps selling a position, a part of your position, but holding on to the rest. Just as you know, when you're reaching 52-week high, you might want to kind of like lock in some profits. That's my opinion. What do you think about this ticker? Make sure you mention down in comments below. Subscribe and like. You have a wonderful day.